During World War II, the SS was famous for the war crimes they committed on various battlefronts. As a special branch tasked with safeguarding the interests of Nazi ideology, the Waffen-SS not only served as a combat unit, but was also often involved in acts of mass slaughter and brutal acts against prisoners of war and local residents. Among the figures behind these cruel acts, Joachim Peiper stands out as one of the most recognizable SS officers. Joachim Peiper represents the darkest side of the Nazi war machine and the horrific legacy the SS left behind in human history. Peiper began his career at the age of 18 in 1933 by joining the Hitler Youth with his brother Horst. In January 1934, he was promoted to SS Mann and later to SS Sturmann. Considered an ideal representation of the Aryan race, Peiper caught the attention of Heinrich Himmler at the Nuremberg rally. Entering 1935, Peiper was officially hired by the SS and attended a military leadership course, where military psychologists noted his egocentric nature, but still passed him with conditions. On March 1, 1938, Peiper was officially issued a Nazi Party identity card, and that same year he became Himmler's adjutant, which was considered essential administrative training for SS leaders. Under the supervision of Karl Wolff, he worked at the SS headquarters in Berlin and became Himmler's favorite aide. Peiper accompanied Himmler on official engagements, and their relationship grew closer in 1939, making him a figure close to the SS inner circle. During the German invasion of Poland, Himmler and Peiper often witnessed the execution of Poles, including people with disabilities. During 1940, Peiper and Himmler went on inspection tours of concentration camps in both Germany and Poland, where SS leaders sought to develop faster methods of killing civilians to clear Poland for German colonization. In May 1940, Heinrich Himmler and Joachim Peiper followed the advance of Waffen-SS troops in the Battle of France. On May 18th, Peiper was appointed a platoon leader in the LSSAH motorized regiment. Peiper showed his bravery in capturing a French artillery battery on Wattenberg Hill, south of Valenciennes. As a result of his prowess, Peiper was awarded the Iron Cross Second Class and promoted to SS Hauptsturmführer, or captain. But one day before France surrendered to Germany on June 21, 1940, Peiper returned to his duties as Himmler's personal adjutant. In February 1941, Himmler informed Peiper about Operation Barbarossa that would begin on June 22, 1941. In preparation, Himmler and his staff, including Peiper, visited occupied territories such as Poland and the Łódź Ghetto to observe the ethnic cleansing policy known as depopulation. From June 11 to 15, 1941, Peiper took part in an SS conference where Himmler presented plans to kill 30 million Slavs in Eastern Europe, including Russia. When the Germans invaded the Soviet Union on June 22, 1941, Peiper was in charge of inspecting and reporting on the number of victims who had been executed by SS units. In the summer of 1941, Peiper returned to duty on the Eastern Front as a combat unit commander. He was assigned to the 1st Panzer Division LSSAH and commanded the 11th Company, fighting around the Black Sea, mainly in Mariupol and Rostov-on-Don. In May 1942, the LSSAH division was withdrawn to Vichy, France for recovery, and later reorganized into a Panzer Grenadier division, with Peiper promoted to commander of the 3rd Battalion in this newly formed unit. In January 1943, Joachim Peiper's battalion left France to join the Eastern Front, where the Wehrmacht began to lose the initiative, especially in the Battle of Stalingrad. During the fighting in the East, his unit earned the nickname Blowtorch Battalion. This nickname came from the actions of LSSAH troops who occupied the villages of Yefremovka and Semyonovka, where they revenged the wounds suffered by 2 SS officers by killing 872 people, including women and children. Peiper's unit was later transferred to northwest Italy, not far from the village of Boves. When the Italian government overthrew Mussolini and surrendered to the Allies in early December 1943, the LSSAH invaded northern Italy and overran it before it could join the Allied war effort. On September 19th, Italian guerrillas killed an SS man and captured 2 others in a firefight in Boves. Peiper surrounded the village and threatened to destroy it if the 2 captives were not released. The local parish priest and a businessman negotiated the release of the prisoners. However, Peiper still ordered the execution of 24 men. After returning to the Eastern Front in late 1943 to once again fight the advancing Red Army to the west, this time Peiper was appointed commander of the 1st Tank Regiment. However, due to his lack of talent in commanding tank units, he was relieved of duty and assigned to a staff position so as not to cause more damage. LSSAH was withdrawn from the East in March 1944 and sent to Western Europe for reorganization. The division fought defensively during the Allied landings in Normandy and Operation Cobra. But Peiper was relieved of duty in August 1944 due to a nervous breakdown he suffered during the fighting around Caen. But, in October 1944, he rejoined his regiment as the Allies continued to launch attacks across the Siegfried Line. This situation forced Hitler to launch a major counteroffensive, known as Operation Ardennes. Operation Ardennes aimed to cross the Meuse River and capture the city of Antwerp to break the Allied lines. The 6th Panzer Division was tasked with breaking through the American defense line between Aachen and the Schnee-Eifel to capture the bridges over the Meuse River near the city of Liège. The division assigned the LSSAH as the main invading force under the command of SS Oberführer Wilhelm Mohnke, and one of the 4 combined brigades was Kampfgruppe Peiper, led directly by Joachim Peiper. Kampfgruppe Peiper were the best troops equipped with Tiger II heavy tanks. They were tasked with capturing the bridge on the Meuse River between the cities of Liège and Huy. To overcome the fuel shortage, headquarters provided Peiper with a map showing the locations of U.S. Army fuel depots that his troops planned to seize. However, the route assigned to Kampfgruppe Peiper consisted of a narrow 1-lane road, so infantry vehicles, armored vehicles, and tanks had to move in convoys of about 25 kilometers. Peiper complained that the roads were more suitable for bicycles than tanks. Nevertheless, Chief of Staff Fritz Kramer told him to push on. On December 17, 1944, while advancing, Kampfgruppe Peiper's armored units and fighting vehicles met a light convoy of about 30 American vehicles at the Bonnier Junction near the town of Malmedy. The troops were mostly from the American 285th Field Artillery Observer Battalion. They were quickly subdued and taken prisoner by the Germans. Unfortunately, the American prisoners were ordered to stand in a meadow before being fired upon by German machine guns, killing 84 American soldiers. The bodies of the victims were left lying in the snow, while the few who managed to escape informed other American troops of the incident, and news of the massacre spread quickly. In Hansfeld, Peiper's troops also killed several other American POWs. Killings of POWs as well as civilians were also reported in several other places such as Bullingen, Ligneville, Stavelot, between December 17th and 21st, including Cheneux, La Glaise, and Stoumont. After the end of World War II, on May 22, 1945, Colonel Joachim Peiper was captured by American forces as he attempted to return to Germany after violating the High Command's order to surrender. In late June of that year, U.S. Army war crimes investigators began a forensic investigation into the Malmedy massacre committed by the Waffen-SS on December 17, 1944. As a result, Peiper's name became one of the top names on the U.S. Army's list of wanted war criminals out of approximately 4 million prisoners of war. In December 1945, after accepting responsibility for the actions of his men, he was transferred to Schwäbisch Hall prison, along with about 1,000 other Waffen-SS soldiers and officers awaiting their respective trials. On April 16, 1946, 300 Wehrmacht and Waffen-SS prisoners, including Peiper, were transferred to the Dachau concentration camp to be court-martialed for their war crimes. On July 16, 1946, the court-martial for the Malmedy massacre found Peiper guilty of the war crimes and sentenced him to hang. In 1951, however, there were political discussions about Peiper's rehabilitation, one of which was by former General Heinz Guderian, who sought to avoid his execution by trying to contact President Truman. In addition, in 1948, several death sentences in the Malmedy trial were commuted to life sentences, including Peiper's sentence, which was also commuted in 1951 to life without the possibility of parole. Then, in 1954, the sentence was commuted again to 35 years in prison. Finally, on December 22, 1956, Joachim Peiper was paroled after serving part of his sentence. Upon hearing the news, he was visibly shocked. After his release, he became active in a circle of former Waffen-SS veterans who helped each other and tried to cover up their wartime records. He briefly worked at the Porsche car company, but was later fired because Italian trade unionists refused to work with the man who ordered the murder of civilians in Beauvais. Peiper then moved to a small village in the south of France in 1972 and worked as a translator of military history books from English to German. However, he was recognized by former members of the French resistance, and his whereabouts were widely publicized. Tragically, in the early hours of July 14, 1976, the house where he lived was set on fire by French anti-Nazis. Firefighters found the charred body of a man still holding a pistol as well as a rifle, as if trying to protect himself, apparently having died from smoke inhalation. Although the body was generally assumed to be that of Joachim Peiper, a definitive identification could not be made.